Wendy, I'm Brett. Wendy, this is Ed.
Ronnie Ratner.
And Nicole.
No decisions were made.
Yep, no decisions were made. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Wendy Wacker. I'm the director of Thomas County ADAC from Colby. I was asked to come today to just kind of share some information about what we do and the possibility of providing services within Cheyenne County. We are a level 1 outpatient substance abuse facility. We provide, in addition to outpatient services, education, prevention. We do case management services, anger management, and then continuing care services. So within that, we have our Colby office, and then we have a Goodland satellite office. It's my understanding that some of the community would like to have some services locally. What we can do is establish a satellite office here, depending on need, an afternoon or a day a week, and then we can provide those services locally instead of them traveling to Goodland or to Colby, which is what they do now. Lots of times our clients are DUI clients, so they don't have a license. It is a financial hardship for them to travel, so that would just provide the service here within their county. We do provide services to the 17 surrounding counties, but just through those 2 offices right now. The closest outpatient that we have is Hayes. So we are kind of out here in the middle of nowhere providing those services. I don't know of any other entity that provides the service as a licensed agency. So I did bring just some information for you, some brochures for ADAC, and then just some information on what we do and what our funding sources are. We are licensed. We're licensed through the state of Kansas. We're allocated a specific amount through a block grant each fiscal year. And we bill against that until we've exhausted it. Every year we go beyond that amount. So we look for additional funding through like the alcohol tax funds, which is what we're looking at today. Thomas County, we do get a portion of theirs, as well as Sherman County. That helps set off some of the costs to travel to Sherman County, the cost of an office and any out-of-pocket expense for that. We do just have myself and one other counselor at this point. We're both licensed through the state, through the BSRB, as licensed addictions counselors. You have to be in Kansas in order to work in a state-funded agency. Our funding is always decreasing, so we're always looking for additional ways to offset some of that. What we like to think that we do through providing the services is reduce recidivism within those counties that we work with. But we also hope that we're teaching them the coping skills and the living skills necessary to be productive members of the community. A lot of them, you know, you can take the substance use out of the picture, but without those skills, you know, they're still lacking in a lot of areas.
Round up.
Right. So that's just kind of what we do. We try to serve as many people as we can. We don't have a waiting list at this point. We try to provide some type of interim services until they could be admitted to outpatient, or if a higher level of care is necessary, that's what we try to get them into. So we do that through referrals and assessments. But any questions from you guys as far as what we do?
Nicole's kind of filled us in on a lot of it, so I think it's a good program. What do you gentlemen have?
And I will say, you know, I've had members of the community reach out to me, which is how Wendy and I got in contact. And, you know, in the process of developing more formal diversion policies and policies on dealing with alcohol and drug addiction in criminal cases, I do think having an actual licensed counseling service in the community would not only be beneficial to public safety, but also in helping those community members who do have drug and alcohol addiction problems and being able to get those services in a better way. And I think really the question before the board today is how you want to start spending the special tax assessment money on alcohol that goes into our special alcohol and drug fund, and how you want to split that money out, and if part of that can go to ADAC to help them have more presence in the community.
I think a program like this is helpful in so many different ways. I don't have a problem with, doing
I
that.
don't either. I think we need the program,
Mhm.
and I think it'll help that man sitting over there.
Do we need a motion then, Ron?
Yeah, we'll have to decide how much.
Right.
And how that works is, my understanding is, I believe we get the state distributes money to us, I believe, twice a year on that tax. So I think probably what you're gonna wanna do is establish a percentage amount, that you want it to go to. And the problem is that amount's constantly changing, depending on how much alcohol is being bought in the county. I know I checked, I believe in like 2014, it was around $4,000 total. In 2015, it was a little over 3,000. So I think probably identifying a percentage of that money to start going to ADAC. And we can also start looking at whether or not there are other agencies or entities that we want to start considering distributing that
Do
money
you
out
have
to.
other counties that are doing this? And if so, what do they generally do?
We receive alcohol tax funds from Thomas and Sherman County, and it is a percentage based off how much they receive. I believe Thomas County is we get a fourth of what they are paid in. And Sherman County, they actually just pay us an amount each year, and they pay that out quarterly. So, because I'm assuming every county gets it differently, because like Thomas County will get it all at one time. Sherman County gets it quarterly, so that's how they pay it out. So, you know, I'm not sure how you guys.
Our treasurer can tell us how that comes in.
Yeah, I mean, so it kind of depends on how much each county brings in and what services they're getting as well, so.
Okay.
There is, last year in 2015, they started requiring each office to be licensed, each satellite office to be licensed. So once a year, the state will come out and do a walkthrough to make sure we're meeting HIPAA requirements and fire safety inspections and stuff like that. I'm kind of hoping that they will allow us a waiver on that initially in Cheyenne County, because we don't necessarily have a need to be here a whole day, or, you know, 2 days a week or anything like that. That would justify the cost of having that office. So I'm hoping they'll allow us a waiver to go around that, and we could maybe just use, in Sherman County, we used to use the jury room.
Use what?
The jury room at the courthouse.
I see.
Until the need, you know, was there to justify the cost of an office. So, you know, those details can be worked out later, but I think that based off previous experience with them, they would let us have a waiver for that first year.
Okay. Yes, go to
Dylan, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I don't know what it would take to meet their standards. But there's 3 offices downstairs in the old sheriff's office
Okay.
that could, you know, I don't think they would need the whole space, but you can separate it into 3 separate offices if they need 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3, or maybe they need all 3, but that's a place to start as far as
Cut down expense.
where they might have a room to use.
Okay.
And one thing I would note on this is there hasn't been a very formal approach in this county before about how this fund money was being spent. You know, you might want to consider this year maybe a higher percentage going to ADAC, and then I think it may be really helpful for us to look into actually getting the special advisory committee up and running again, so that we can start looking into whether or not there are other community entities, organizations that we can start splitting that money up. I know Rel Zimmerman has been in my office multiple times talking about the needs of the community, and I think this is a good time and place to start maybe being a little bit more formal in how we use this money. and make sure that it's being used to help our community. I know right now ADAC is, you know, the only entity I'm aware of, one that's licensed, but that would be willing to provide services. So unless Cody or Rel have anything to add, I think we may want to consider maybe a higher percentage for this year, and then maybe talk to Rel on some other interested community members and getting that advisory committee up and running, so we can consider next year on how maybe we want to distribute those funds.
Okay. Was there any were the funds all used up last year?
Yes.
Yes.
And I
okay.
believe we have a disbursement.
We have one disbursement I got in this month, but it's not been paid out,
Okay.
and Fred's fully aware that that's not going there
Okay.
anymore, so.
I guess what we need to do is we need to, since Thomas is doing 25%, do you have any idea what Sherman is, since they just pay a set amount?
I don't, I can find out.
Okay.
They normally don't let us know exactly how much they get. They just tell us how
Because
much they're allocating to us.
Thomas
so.
County at 25% is probably going to be twice of what we even get, you know, one.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
And Dolores, how many, did you tell me twice a year you get a payment
we
from?
get 3 a year.
three.
And
Okay.
we've been, I averaged out from 2010 to 20, for the 5 years, and it was like 39.
39.
That 3,975 was the average, so just under 4,000 a year.
Okay.
Unless they become heavy drinkers in the county.
Well, let's hope not.
But we have a few more establishments that are open now, so it may increase, I don't know. We have a new liquor store, we have Fresh 7 that's selling liquor now, and
Okay. What do you recommend to the board on that percentage? Are you thinking 50, or are you thinking?
I was thinking, I mean, maybe, and I would love to hear some other input, I mean, because one thing I would like, I know I'm gonna continue to reach out to the other counties to kind of get an idea about where their funds are going. I was thinking maybe 75% for right now, and then maybe try to get the advisory committee up and running again, so they can start advising us of different organizations and
Okay.
entities that are available for us to distribute those funds to. And I think what would be helpful is, you know, from now on, once a year, around budget time, that
Take a
we
look at it.
officially revisit that and determine how we want that money to be split up and where we want it to go. Rel, do you have anything to add?
No, well, not, I mean officially, but I've been working with ADAC off and on since 2008. And, I mean, they're available, they already serve the county, and this would help them serve the county better by actually placing a counselor here,
Okay.
which for a lot of people that are on probation and things, it would make them more employable to not have to tell their new boss that, hey, I have to travel to Midland or Colby. And you can reach them either through private ways or through court appointed. You know, sometimes there's court commits that they receive, and I mean, I contacted them in the past for personal reasons, and so I mean, I think they're a very viable institution. They often send people to our other active volunteer groups here in town, and sometimes that's a way to get people in the door to realize they do have a problem. So I'm definitely impressed with everything they do.
Well, maybe if you could kind of think about what it's going to take to run a special advisory committee, and I'm assuming that you might want to be a part of that.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a advocate of recovery, so.
Okay. That is okay with you? Okay. Well, let's, we need a motion on a percentage
On,
for ADAC.
to fund some, to make some fund, okay, do we have to put an amount in right now?
I think a percentage is probably, would be the easiest way for you guys to track it and for Dolores to
We
know.
never know how much it's gonna
Okay.
be.
So that percentage, definitely a percentage.
Last year, we received $6,664 in liquor tax. Now, that would be divided 3 ways. 1/3 to the
It is,
county?
but it's not. It's a more complicated formula than that. The liquor tax that is by catering or by, like Riverside,
That's
it's
what
in the
it is,
county rather than in the city limits,
Basis.
is actually, they get 23 1/3% of that. And then the city, the taxes that are brought in from the cities is divided by 1/3. So they actually get a lot more than what the county and the recreation part gets, so.
Yeah. At 75%, that would be 20, on the average of 39.75, it'd be 28.31.25. And the remaining 25% would be $993.75. That's kind of what we're looking at on the average, if we do 75%.
I'll make a motion then for 900, what, 75?
Oh, the 75% on the average, we need a percentage, gotta have a percentage.
Okay,
So 75% would be, if it's, based on average,
okay.
Now, this 3,900, that was what was deposited directly into the alcohol rehab.
okay.
It's not, I mean, that's after all the formulas, and it's been split out between general recreation and the rehab.
But that is the number we have to work with,
Yeah.
correct? Okay, all right.
And I think if you're gonna, I think you need to identify a percentage amount for this year, with the idea then at the end
Look at
of
a
2016,
budget
we're
time.
gonna start revisiting that in, around budget time every year about
Yeah.
where we want that money to go, so.
And I would suggest maybe, Ralph, you kind of see if you can work with that amount that we were maybe gonna set aside for that, and let us know if you could. Any objection to that?
No, I
Okay.
think she needs to work with us on that before we make the motion, because I don't want us overcommitting ourselves.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Oh, on the percentage.
For the special advisory committee is what he's
Yeah.
getting at. He doesn't want to commit to something until we do a little bit more research, which I understand. But on the ADAC, we can go ahead and make a motion on
On a
percentage.
percentage to go
Yes.
to ADAC.
So the money
okay.
would just stay in that fund until you
Right.
approve it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So do I hear a motion?
Okay, on the ADAC,
Yes, sir.
make a motion that we create a ADAC, committee?
No, this would be a percentage of
Okay.
the special alcohol drug
Okay.
fund that would go to ADAC.
Okay. That we establish a percentage, and what percent do you suggest on that?
75%.
75%, okay?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And then we'll look at that after we get your reports, okay?
Okay.
Can I have one of
And
your?
that way we won't be overcommitting.
Rick,
Yeah.
Yes.
what is the total amount of money that you get?
It depends on, because the amount we get from the state changes,
The,
so.
The
How
average.
much I drink?
Yes.
Get with
You wanna
it,
be
get with it,
successful,
Ellen.
drink.
The average in the last 5 years has been about
That's where we
39,
begun it last year.
3,000. That's been the average, yeah.
And that's based on a third of what is generated.
But that's not the-
So if you wanna know
That's
how
not
much
the
we
actual
actually
output.
drink,
That's
you
not
take that times
specifically this
3,
fund.
and then they'll,
Well, when reading it, that's it.
I don't think,
I don't think so.
anyway.
You
And
think
then
that's
you
what
figure
went
what the
into
tax
it?
rate is, and that gives you the dollar amount
Yeah.
people
Oh,
actually
yeah.
spend.
Wow.
Yeah.
For just this year. So,
Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
we need to visit.
Sure.
Okay, Reed, come on, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
right,
Yes, sir.
we do have a budget authority this year, up to 5,000 at our discretion, how we want to use it.
Okay.
But we're gonna have to, with Dolores, kind of go back 2 or 3 years and see what we're averaging,
Okay.
so that we can make
That's good to know, because if we set up this special advisory committee and it takes more than the 900, that is 25%, we could maybe use that to help set up.
Yeah, and it's our discretion to increase it
Right.
if the funding's there.
All right, Reed, sorry. Put in 5 or 10 minutes, and it was like.
Oh, no, that was great, 'cause I was getting
I don't know what it is.
that drawing at the hospital, and I was like, you can't get away.
All right, what we got?
Oh, I'm up?
You're up, sorry.
Okay, you're running early then.
Yeah,
Okay, then let me get my stuff out.
I've tried to, because my wife started scheduling about 11:30, so I've been trying to push, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine.
And the groundwater, they're in Atwood, so she said they'll be here, they may be a little late, so to let
Okay.
him go is perfect.
Good. That's good.
It usually does.
Did you have anything? Any questions?
Shirley's supposed to be up in Colby.
Okay.
Yeah. She's in Atwood this morning and they're on their way.
Okay, Deb, if you want to get
She had an extra one and I might take a business card so I can have it in the office. Oh, there's a whole bunch down there, so you can keep yours all, yeah.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Cody, did you have one of our cards already?
Yes, I have all ADAC stuff.
All right.
People ask and it's good to have that information available.
Alrighty, I've got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna go pretty quick.
Okay.
Feel free to slow me down though if you guys have questions or we need more discussion. So there's 2 items under old business. We've got part-time pay. I believe Nicole was gonna check into that. It was if we had to pay our part-time people when we have department meetings after hours, they're part-time wage. So we can wait till she gets back in here to ask her unless anybody else can answer that question. Leave it to her. Yep. The memorial donation account that we discussed, I don't know, last meeting or the meeting before, it was Nicole's recommendation that isn't in the county funds. So I assume that we would need a motion to close it and to move the money to a bank. You wanna wait till she gets in here for that one
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Because that was kind of her, she kind of led that discussion. New business. Our grant funding for our community paramedicine project, which to confuse the issue even more, we've renamed to Mobile Integrated Healthcare, which defines what we do a lot better than community paramedicine. We've got some money to spend, some extra money to spend in the personnel line item for that grant by August 31st. What we would like to do is hire a summer intern. It would be a grant-funded position, 20 hours per week maximum, as the grant would allow, at a rate of $15 an hour. It is grant-funded benefits for a part-time position.
Yes.
And I talked to the clerk, and the clerk staff yesterday about that. So here's the deal. We don't offer benefits unless the employee works 30 hours or more a week. This position is 20 hours a week, maximum. So we know we're not gonna get up to our 30 hours. However, in the grant, it is allowed for benefits on this position. So the grant allows for reimbursement of the benefits, but if they're county, so the question is, I guess we have several options to not get reimbursed and that money will just not make it to the county, it'll stay with the grantor for benefits. The other option, and I don't even know if this is possible or not, you know, to me it's a 20-hour position, so it's part-time. Can the employee be responsible for half of the benefits and the county be responsible for the other half and it can be payroll deducted? Or do you want to give them full-time benefits like a full-time employee because it's grant funded?
Take the benefits out of the grant, reduce the hourly amount.
It's grant funded, what difference?
Huh?
I say if it's a half job, give her half the benefits or half the benefits, whatever.
The issue that we discussed with that is making sure that we don't cause a problem in the county.
Right.
Exactly, so if it's a half a job and you're even though it's paid for, don't give them any more than half the benefits.
But we don't do that with any other county employees that are, part-time, and that's my issue with this.
Yeah.
We would really have to make a,
Grant funded.
right, a special designation of, okay, we can do this with grant-funded position if the grant's gonna fund that, to differentiate it between a regular, non-grant funded, county-funded position, I guess, is what.
What happens, my question is, what happens when it is not grant funded and this employee is still part of the county and we're paying somebody who works less than 20 hours a week for benefits, and we have other employees with the county that work less than 20 hours, part-time people? What do you do with them when the grant is no longer there? And part of the conversation was, how much longer does this grant go? And you said 18 months?
Technically 18 months, but we have enough in reserve that we think we can extend it at least another year.
I think we need legal advice on this, don't
Aye.
you?
I think it's probably a good idea. I'm
Sorry.
trying to divide up the.
I guess, and I kind of have this in the wrong spot. This doesn't have really much to do with the summer intern. The summer intern is not going to get benefits because it's a temporary PRN position. However, there is another position out there that is 20 hours a week for the grant on top of this PRN position, so it is kind of out of place. If you wouldn't mind, let's talk to legal about C, because that really has nothing to do with this summer intern. And if you would make a motion to offer a promotion to Tyler Ravy, who is already on the payroll. It would be a promotion as a summer intern for the 2 months he's back home at $15 an hour, payable by the grant.
I don't have a problem with that. You want me, Ed?
Do you have any problems?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
And this is out of the grant money?
Yes, 100% grant funded.
Okay. I'll make a motion that Tyler be bumped in pay to $15 an hour for a summer intern.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you. Next topic is a prepaid credit card. Oh boy.
We talked about credit cards for having 2 credit cards that we can check out. Is that what you're?
Well, but where are we at with that?
We're gonna.
Well, I told them, I said it got dropped because
Right.
once they
Nobody- there
approved
wasn't
it,
interest, right?
and I went around to the different departments, the interest just fizzled and they said, no, we really don't want it. And so it really did just,
We
pretty much
discussed it this
died.
morning about getting 2 cards with the same numbers that can be checked out too, because if something happens and we need to,
Okay.
but we will have to set a maximum. I think we did that, didn't we set a maximum already
Yeah.
in our motion and original?
Because that would be better than a prepaid card.
Okay.
But a prepaid card does reduce your liability, because
Yeah.
you can set, there's, whatever's in there is all you can spend.
Right.
I guess is what I'm saying. Here's my issue and why I really need one, is we've got to be able to, our transfer hotline system, so it's an 800 number that the hospitals call for transfer. It goes into the cloud and the internet, and then it's a cloud-based kind of phone system that then calls Wendy's cell phone. If she doesn't answer, it rolls over to my cell phone, and blah, blah, blah. It keeps rolling over and it ends up at dispatch if nobody answers it. So we know that our transfers are getting answered at least. That's been non-operational since we lost our debit card, I'm gonna say 6 months ago maybe is when we closed that account. So we haven't had that transfer hotline, and we did, within the last couple of months, lose a transfer because they couldn't get a hold of us, because that rollover wasn't there. So I really need to have something that I can give the vendor a number that they can charge every month for this service.
so the two debit cards that you have for Bird City and St. Francis, that can't be used on those?
Well, so here's the Dolores isn't here anymore. So she asked the bank about it since they wanted to close the account and there was fraud and all that on it. They came back and said, get a credit card.
The bank did?
The bank did. Now, technically, can I use one of those other debit cards? I sure can. But the bank's advice was to get a credit card. And so, I guess,
But that would just be for EMS, correct?
yeah, really,
Is that,
mostly for this one charge. I mean, it is nice to have an office account like we had before.
because what they were talking about earlier is just getting two credit cards under Cheyenne County, and then they would be checked in and out.
It would be hard for us to check it in and out if we use it like we used our other one. Like right now, I mean, all of the Amazon stuff that we buy, I'm putting it on my, and I know we're not supposed to do this, but we gotta do business. I'm putting it on my card and you're reimbursing me. We didn't have that when we actually had an EMS office account, credit card, or debit card is what it was. So, I mean,
What's the,
I really don't care personally, as long as it's just something that we can use so we can get this back set up.
what's the cloud-based transfer hotline system run per month?
I think it's roughly $40. It's 30 to 40.
Would it be better to see what they would charge if we did a yearly payment? That way
They won't.
they won't.
They will not invoice unless we're spending more than $1,000 a month with them.
Okay.
So, with their business plan, this is actually a personal plan, is what it is. Because, yeah, I really tried. I mean, that's what our goal is to get more things invoiced and what.
You know, what about if we have two cards, we have one up at the EMT station and one at the clerk? That would kind of solve that, because you guys could use it at any time, because you'd have access to it. But we'd need, you know, we're gonna have to set a limit on it, of course.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, can't you set a hard limit on
Yeah.
each card?
I think we can.
I mean, for us, I would say, if we use it like we did before, a $500 limit would be, I guess, reduce our risk.
Yeah.
Because that has been compromised now twice,
Right.
which is a concern. I don't know what to do
Supposed to
about
be
that.
people that have scanners that can scan it when it's in your pocket, so. Rodney, any take on that?
No, I got no opinion.
The only thing I would say is if we have two cards with the same number and somebody else buys a $450, we'll say, a printer.
So why don't we get different numbers?
Well, that's what I was.
Is there any reason why two numbers, just simplicity of,
Well,
it comes on one
Yeah.
statement?
We had just thought two cards on the same number.
same number is what they
But
have.
I just don't want you guys to get in a position and somebody else has used it
Right.
and you guys get stuck somewhere.
Because I'm assuming it's gonna use for like motels and travel and meals mainly through the other departments.
So,
Really don't,
I would prefer two numbers if we're gonna do it, but if this card's gonna be an EMS, then I know this statement is all mine and I've gotta reconcile that with you. I know these
have a
charges
problem
are
with
ours.
getting two different numbers. Rodney, what about you?
Two different numbers.
Okay, well, I guess make a motion.
Okay.
Which,
I'll make a motion on a credit card, correct,
yeah,
for a maximum of $500 for EMS.
okay.
So, not to take anything away from Reed here, but
No,
now
go.
we're back to, we only have one card here.
We're gonna get two cards.
well, we could have, if we had two different numbers, the one
We
that's
get
in the
two
clerk's
cards here
office
and
can
one
have
for
two
him.
cards. And he can have two cards on his number.
As long as there's two here is my point.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree on
Yeah.
that.
because I think you're gonna get yourself in a bind, but
Okay, you may make in your original
this department's
motion
gone,
that
and then this
we
department
get
wants to be
EMS
gone.
Well, that
Their
card should be
cards
checked
that-
in
two
immediately
two-
when it
two
comes
cards
back
for
with the
clerk to have
invoice,
and one
so
card
that
for
it can be
EMS,
paid back,
different
so that
numbers,
we don't
$500
run.
Yes, I
max.
only want one.
That's,
Yeah.
we'll change, how you can change the motion a little bit.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, motion was made for Reed to get a credit card in the amount of, or not to exceed $500.
One.
And that's just one, not two.
Yes, I just want one to keep track of.
Okay.
Okay.
Second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Nicole, he had a question on the Memorial Day, the Memorial Donation Account, motion to close the account and transfer the funds to departmental checking account at local bank. Is that okay?
I do not see any problems with that.
Okay. if you wanna go ahead and make a motion.
And I don't
Would we
know,
have to do a resolution to close that?
yeah,
Because it is a budget account.
I think
It's a
we will have to.
non-budgeted account.
Yeah, it's a non-budgeted account.
Okay. So,
No.
I don't know either. I think you guys can go ahead and move to
And
do
then
that today, and then
if we need to
we
sign
will
the
follow up to
resolution,
see if we actually need a
and
resolution.
then we could sign the
or
resolution
not.
next
Mapes and Miller.
My gut is I don't think we do, but
It's non-budgeted.
I'll need to follow up on that.
and the other question we had,
Okay,
oh, sorry.
Are you gonna make a motion on doing that?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we close the memorial account,
and transfer the,
And transfer.
transfer the funding. It'll have to go into the general fund.
you can't go into the local bank.
No, his request is to go into a separate account outside of the county, is what he's
Because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
donation account. I mean, if you want me to, I've talked to because there are already multiple departments who take donations, and this was one of the weird
Yeah,
departments where the donations were actually going into county money rather than a separate account. I mean, if you want me to look into that more, I can, but,
Well, the donations fund does have its own account.
right, but my point is, other agencies who are taking donations have accounts that are set up outside of the county
Okay.
for those donations. And I think this is the only department I'm aware of where the donations they're taking for some reason are ending up in a county fund rather than an account separate. Is that something you want me to work with the auditors on? I mean, my gut is it's cleaner to have donations that are
Into that
coming,
account.
that are separate from the county fund.
well,
And
it's
then we don't
definitely
have-
cleaner that all of us are doing it the same way.
Exactly.
One way or another, so.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we close the memorial account and establish a bank account.
Local bank, okay.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And, can check on the resolution.
Yes.
He had another question. On part-time employees, on grant-funded benefits, wow. It's got me, my
Yeah,
tongue
I
twisted
know.
here.
So, in the county, you have to work 30 hours or more to get full-time benefits.
Okay,
We have a grant-funded position yet to hire at 20 hours a week.
okay.
Within that grant, however, is the appropriation for benefits.
Yes.
No, I don't know.
Could he transfer that benefit money to the county and then we pay it out of county funds?
So we gonna get in trouble down the road.
Yeah, I don't want to set us up for,
That concerns me.
See?
Is that something we wanna table?
You're
that part of
you're
it?
asking
I
for something?
feel,
yeah.
which position is this?
Okay, so we hired Wendy White for 20 hours of a health coach position
Okay,
and 20 hours of a heart and stroke grant position. So we split her between two grants. In our grant, there is the allotment for a full-time person. So that would be the equivalent of two part-time people.
mm-hmm,
So we still have left hanging out there to start advertising for this other 20 hours.
okay,
But technically from the grant perspective, there's benefits. And before we advertise for it and bring people in, I just have to know if I'm offering them no benefits, some benefits, or full benefits.
can you have, Carol send me the grant language on that?
I think we'll table that until we do the research.
Sure.
You know, and we had talked yesterday about contacting Austin Peters and to see how that was handled, but Reed indicated that the other, as far as employment issues are concerned, the grant covered employees were not part of the study, correct,
Correct. Now,
at this point?
after our conversation, I got caught up on my email from being gone,
Oh,
and she has changed her mind since then.
oh,
So she says have them fill out those forms and send it to her, she thinks it's gonna be clear.
Oh, good.
So they will be included, she just says there's nothing we're gonna recommend with their salary because the salary is set by the grant.
Right, right.
But at least, I mean, my biggest thing was just bless the job description.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote that, and I'm not, you know,
yeah.
so
So,
we are okay there, those two are included.
Just not on the salary
in the
part of
project.
it, because it's.
so did Beth say anything about this part-time position? Or did you talk to her about that?
No, I don't even know if she knows that's out there, to be honest with
Okay.
you. But it's gonna need a job description, but we'll take Wendy's that we already have and just copy that over for our grant.
When you have Carol email me the information on this, will you
Mhm.
CC Deb and Beth?
Mhm.
Have her CC Deb and Beth?
Is that the paper you want us to sign?
Yeah, that's just late. We,
Okay.
in order to officially vote, I have to have you guys sign that to appoint me and Wendy to the Region 1 EMS Council.
Okay.
And it's a 2-year term.
I don't have a problem with that, Rodney. That paper where we all need to sign it, do you have any problems with that?
Have you seen this?
I don't see a problem with it.
Huh?
I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. Want me just to sign it then?
Yes, and then hand it down, we need to keep it
The other
To
question,
you and Wendy?
yeah,
To the,
there has to be a backup. That comes from, that form comes from them. And then if we don't show up 3 consecutive times, they basically go back to you guys and say, we need somebody else, they're not fulfilling their obligation. So. Part-time pay was the other thing to discuss. When we have part-time employees on an hourly rate, and we have an after-hours departmental meeting, what do we pay them?
I'm still working on that.
That's fine.
and
That's fine.
You always bring the most complicated
I'm sorry,
questions.
I know. If I don't remind myself though, I'll just drop it, so, okay, we got that, appoint Reed. Billing, oh, here's a question, I think this will be, does anybody know of any policy that says the county will waive or write off an EMT's ambulance bill? I find nothing in my office under our operational policies. I don't know if that has been done in the past. I don't think there's a policy, but I had an EMT tell me that there was, that we should write off their bill.
A volunteer,
Yeah.
EMT, gets hauled by our
Right.
ambulance.
Gets a bill like everybody else does. Should we write that off automatically and not send them a bill? I don't think legally we actually can, according to Medicare. We have to bill everybody the
Yeah,
same,
that
but.
has to be billed on through.
there is that Kansas set-off program
Mhm.
that I need to do some checking
Okay,
into.
that's someplace on here.
That, you know, I had talked to you about it, cause you and I both being new, there wasn't any information that was given to us, and I need to follow up. I don't know if that is part of that. It was set up by Carrie, I understand, years ago. And it's a Kansas set-off program. And I don't know if it's to recoup some of those funds.
Well, it's really an alternative to collections.
Uh,
It's when you've sent the 3 invoices
And you're not seeing the money.
and you're not seeing the money, you can turn that into Kansas set-off. Kansas set-off then will take any income tax return money that they would send back to that patient and instead send it to us. So it's more of a collection type thing, but that is on the list, and I thought we did that system and they said you do that system in the clerk's office.
That's what, see, I've never got a real clarification.
So if you like Google Kansas set-off, there's the contact to call.
Out there.
And just have them, because they said it was under Terry Miller, but
Uh-huh,
under your email address, and it's a shared email account, and they were having issues with it.
okay.
But I don't know, I have no reports that show who is actually in there.
Well, I get periodic things that I print off, and I put that in your
that
mailbox.
say that they're gonna
Right. what
give
they
us
have.
some money,
Uh-huh.
yes.
A name and an amount. But like I say, I don't know, just the communication of turnover in personnel, I don't know what's supposed to be done with that.
So if you would just get access to it,
Uh-huh.
whatever this magical thing is,
Okay.
that would be what we need.
Yeah.
Just access to get in there and see who's in there, what's in there.
And what needs to be done.
Okay. Good part. The new phone system at EMS, I'm just gonna let you read that, that's just informational, that we did something different there. Number 6, we will order our Gator finally in April, that's grant funded.
What is your Gator?
John Deere Gator,
A four-wheeler
yep,
like Ryan Murray's got?
Is it a 6-wheeler?
no, it's a 4.
4?
Ryan doesn't have one.
But the other counties, if they need it, can come and use it.
Right,
Is that
it's
correct?
bought with Northwest Regional Homeland
I think
Security.
Ryan and Reed are talking about the same four-wheeler, it's the same. They have-
It's one of the same as what Cody's saying.
Okay.
Anyway, we got that approved this
Good.
week, and we purchased an online training subscription for staff out of our memorial donations account. It's $1,200 a year. It lets people get their continuing education from home to help solve some of our issues.
Is the money in the memorial account?
Yeah, we've got like $5,500, I believe, a day or two ago. Executive session. Yeah, let's wait and do that at a meeting to come after you have access to Kansas Set Off, because it's an account within Kansas Set Off.
Okay,
How's that sound?
okay.
All right, EMS restructuring. So obviously with me being out of the office, I've had a lot of time to think about the EMS department. And the need to be making some changes within the EMS department. Because if I'm gonna be out and we have to fork up all this money to cover my time, we really have to have a plan in place of how we're gonna do this in the future. So I've kind of sat down with the full-time staff and discussed some of our issues. We are in the infancy stage, so I'm just gonna share with you our goals, our timeline, and our funding at this meeting. Let you guys kind of disperse, think about things on your own. We're gonna meet formally and decide on a restructuring plan, but here's some of our goals. We have a huge education gap because we don't have a certified instructor. That's nothing new, we've talked about that. We have to solve that issue. We have to find a way to spend down my comp time, and I'd like to do that over the last 12 months. There's no
Okay,
reason that
I
we
thought
have all
we
this
settled
comp
that at the
time.
last meeting. You don't have comp time.
Okay,
Isn't that
well,
what the attorney said?
no, I think we need her opinion then again, because that's not what I heard. But anyway, we can talk to her when she comes back in there. We've got to have a position that's able to take vacation time and not lose it every year. We got to figure out, because it does no good to give a physician vacation and not allow them to take that. We need to divide more tasks between our full-time positions. We have a huge office space issue now with these grant funds. When I started 2 years ago, I had a huge office and one desk. We now, in a closet. We now have cleared out the closet. We put 2 desks in the closet. We put 2 desks in the main office. We've put a desk back in our material storage room. We've got a space issue. One of the things that we're thinking about, we also have an issue with Bird City Call. Maybe we can move one of those positions to Bird City a little bit more to help cover that. Maybe we have a position that can work from home some hours to solve some of that. We're gonna try to put that into the plan. We have compliance issues. We really don't have a HIPAA compliance program in place at all. We are only meeting the state minimum necessary requirements for quality assurance and quality improvement. We gotta beef up those 2 compliance programs. There isn't currently a residency requirement for my job that I can find, and I am gonna be making some changes. My family's gonna be making some changes, and as of June 1st, I am no longer going to be taking EMS call. That is one of the things that has came out of the whole job description thing with Beth, and since there's not a residency requirement, we're actually looking to move out in the country to raise our boys. And doing that, I can't be within the 5-minute requirements of the EMS building to answer calls. So, with all these goals in mind, I decided we need a restructuring plan and how this might work. Right now, it's just the surface. I don't have a whole lot of ideas. We're gonna, like I said, meet as a whole department, get whole department buy-in, and then come to you guys with a recommendation. The timeline for this, we're gonna have a special EMS department meeting the first part of April. We're gonna agree on a restructuring plan supported by all the members of the department. Hopefully, we can present this plan at the April 15th meeting here to you guys for discussion, basically. Give it to you, let you digest it for a couple weeks. Would like to approve a plan the end of April so that we can transition in May and then fully implement June 1st. That will actually be good timing along with the summer intern that you just approved to help us with maybe some staffing issues for at least 2 months out of the summer, because they'll probably start around the June 1st timeline, I'm guessing. So, I'll be honest, everything I can think of is gonna require the hiring of staff. I'm hoping that one of the things that came out of Beth's work is basically you've hired a director that it has 2 positions, an EMT technician and a director. Well, I'm taking the EMT technician out as of June 1st. So we're gonna have a lot of time on call time that we're gonna have to fill. Well, historically, just in the last month, we know how much that costs if we try to rely on our locals to step up. It's a very expensive option. So we're looking at, I think we're gonna be, and I'm just giving you a heads up, at least 1 full-time EMT position is what we're gonna ask for funding for. I don't see any other way, to be honest with you, but I wanted to hit you up for that at this meeting so you can be thinking, I'm giving you guys 2 months. So sources of funding for 2016, if we need to come up with money. Our local community paramedicine grant had matching funds that the county was putting in. We didn't ask for those funds in 2015. We didn't need them, to be honest with you, because we didn't have all the positions hired. I don't think we're gonna have to ask for that money in 2016 either. So that could be a possible source of funding, depending on. So, I don't really have any, I think it's too early for discussion at this point. I have allowed plenty of time for discussion, I believe, and we'd like to have that discussion. But first, I'd like to meet with the department and get their ideas, make sure they think I'm on track and the rest of the full-timers are on track. So I wanted to give you just a heads up at this point.
Nicole, Rodney had a question on your goals.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Number 2, on spend down my comp time over the next 12 months.
I think we need to get rid of the comp time balance, figure out a way to get rid of that. Rodney stated that he didn't think that you allowed any comp time.
I didn't allow any comp time, that's not really my authority, but.
The way I understand the policy handled is that he cannot earn comp time. He's on a salary.
I think this is probably a contractual issue, because my understanding is there were separate negotiations regarding comp time with you. Is that correct or incorrect?
Right, and you were here for those.
So, I mean, if there were separate contractual obligations that the board negotiated to, then the handbook doesn't apply to that. Because that would have, and that's the part of the reason that I think we're working towards a consistent handbook employee policy now is, so from now on, we have a policy and the board commits to never going outside of that policy. But there were indeed contract negotiations that made it so that our handbook policy doesn't apply, then
Then that would be, the contract would be in his personnel folder?
I don't know.
I don't know that there was an official contract ever written up.
This is the bucket of worms.
But if there was, I mean, you don't have to have a written contract to have a
It was a
contractual
handshake, I mean, it was at this
agreement,
table.
you know. So I guess my answer is, if there was an agreement between the board and Reed about his compensation, that is under control over what's in the policy handbook.
So if that was occurred, then there should be in the commissioner's minutes.
Should be.
Okay. I'm ready to look at it.
I
'Cause
do
like
know
he-
that-
Like the man said, we got several weeks to go through this.
Well,
Yeah.
Beth is going to be in the county to meet, and she's on the agenda for the final meeting in April.
Okay.
So, based on all of her visits to Cheyenne County and her recommendations, I think under the Fair Labor Standards Act, she's ready to visit with the board and move forward on that.
Which is
So-
a separate issue.
That's going forward.
Yeah, from going forward. But, I mean, if there was an agreement in the past and that agreement hasn't been amended or rescinded by the parties, then that's what would control. And I know Beth and I and Deb and I have been talking, and I think this is a very good situation to illustrate the importance of having a really clear
Absolutely.
written policy and equally applying it to everybody.
But like you said, we've got plenty of time to discuss it.
Well, we'll take a look at it.
Just one last issue to discuss and then I'll be done. The investigative issue. I guess I come and I'm discouraged that after I get back from being gone that we have issues that we have to resolve. And so I'm gonna ask you three like I've asked you three in the past, because correct me if I'm wrong, this is a board that my supervisor is the majority of this board. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question to each of you. Rodney, do you believe that there is a fraud issue within the EMS department? And that fraud needs to be investigated by the sheriff?
Yes.
Ed, do you believe that there is fraud within the EMS department? And that fraud needs investigated by the sheriff?
I have no idea.
Brett, do you believe that there is fraud within the EMS department and that fraud needs investigated by the sheriff?
I don't think so, but I don't know everything, but I don't know what he's questioning.
So I was approached by the sheriff and he said he was approached by a commissioner who he kept their name in privacy
Right, I don't know anything about
to
it.
investigate the EMS department. And I'm a little frustrated that from, even when I was out, I still reviewed the minutes on YouTube
Mhm.
or the video on YouTube and I hear no discussion of this. So if it was by the majority, that had to happen in open public meeting. It
Yes,
doesn't
but
sound like
any
it does.
citizen, I mean, one thing I will say is, if any citizen believes that a crime has been committed, I mean, it's not like if there's a belief that a crime has been committed, the entire board would have to agree on that. Any citizen could go to the sheriff and make a report of a crime for an investigation.
So is this commissioner acting as a commissioner or as a citizen?
Citizen.
And they can do that?
I mean, any citizen can approach law enforcement to report their belief that a crime has occurred or not. And then it would be up to the law enforcement agency to determine whether or not there's sufficient reason to believe that an investigation needs to be completed.
All I can say.
So we can continue to investigate departments without open meetings. I mean,
This
I'll
is
be
a,
real
It has
honest.
nothing to do with the board at that point. It's a
When,
law.
when is the witch hunt for EMS gonna end?
I know.
And I and the members of the EMS department are sick of it. And that's why we're restructuring and that's why I'm putting down my foot. I am prepared to resign my position if that's what you guys want.
We didn't know any, Ed and I didn't know anything.
I didn't figure.
And every
And this
time-
is the third time.
And every time we've checked, everything's been good.
I don't have I've told you from the beginning, I
I
have
know.
no problems with an open door, open book, open policy department. But I do have a problem